Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
And welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Marlene Cuellar.
And I'm Gavin Courtney.
And thank you for joining us this morning.
It's a beautiful Tuesday morning.
That's right.
Already feeling kind of warm.
Yes, without a doubt. I know, speaking of which, yesterday there was news coming out. I know people started to get concerned about the first tropical wave in May. Thankfully, our Chief Met put some of those concerns to rest by letting us know that it's not uncommon in May that we find tropical waves starting to come off the African coast.
Yep. So this is our last month before we officially enter the rainy season. So
hurricane season.
Sorry. Yeah, I guess right. And
there's rain that comes with that too, but there's also wind and storm surge and.
Yep. And I was thinking, that we are right before the month, and the predictions for the season, of course, are for a more active than usual season, although I feel like over the past, 4 or 5 years, that has been the continuing trend.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's basically just like, we have to brace ourselves. Luckily, we haven't had any serious storms like other countries in our region have experienced over the past few years.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, we've had storms which have caused destruction to certain sectors, but nothing devastating for the whole country like we've seen. And of course, that's our biggest concern.
Always. And this is the right time to be talking about it because, we're heading into what will be the first pay period for some people and then end of the month for others. It's important. I know this idea of planning for storms, it oftentimes we all wait till the last minute, but if you're able to, and we know things are tight, start putting things away for your emergency, if you have to leave in the case of an emergency. I remember we had a segment last year, or probably a few years ago, with the Red Cross, where they literally packed 3 days of supplies for a family of 3, I think it was, with $50.
Yep.
It's probably going to be a bit more with inflation right now, but still manageable. And if you start now, you put aside a few canned goods, some water, and just build up what you may potentially need if a storm comes around, it's going to be a lot easier for you to be able to kick your plan into gear if we do come under the threat of a storm.
No, absolutely. And, just speaking, relating it to some news, some recent news.
Yeah.
I know that you guys spoke a bit on the show yesterday about the agricultural initiatives that come from the latest series of agreements with Mexico. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the president of Mexico was here over the weekend, and I was thinking that that sort of initiative is something really that's going to make a huge difference in the lives of many, and especially considering that the agriculture industry is one of those that's really affected by the weather in general. I mean, whether it's too hot, too dry, so being able to, at least in terms of funding, being able to mitigate some of the impacts of the rainy season, because as we know, even if there isn't a hurricane, several areas of the country often experience flash floods or other sorts of natural disasters, which are coming more and more common with the effects of climate change and other things like that. So giving a boost or a bit more security to the agricultural sector is definitely welcome, especially as we enter now the hurricane season.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things too that was a part of the news, and I was looking at the news yesterday and this morning. Coming out of the United States is looking at the inflation rate. Yesterday, Isani made mention of how the inflation rate, and there's some other issues too, has been affecting accessibility to things like baby formula. And in the States, for example, it's two factors. It's inflation, but it is also some recalls that took place. But the gas prices have hit another historic high in the U.S. and specifically diesel. And of course, all the commentary is this has a trickle-down effect. That means everything else, as we know here, the prices go up. So as we continue to see inflation rates rise in countries like the United States, where we do import a lot of our goods from, it obviously will have a trickle-down effect on us here. The Prime Minister yesterday said, well, it's not us that's doing it, and that is the truth. But I think the biggest concern is how do we help people to survive what will be a very difficult time as prices keep going up.
Yes, absolutely. And, you rightly point out that inflation is a huge issue, and the gas issue in particular is also causing another issue when it comes to shipping. And so the prices of goods that we import, or that even to a certain extent, some of the ones that we even produce do go up. And of course, there's been a lot of concerns in the news about the rising prices of certain basic goods. Bread was a big one that was being discussed recently. But of course, things like bus fares and have gone up.
Yeah.
So it's not as though we're not feeling the effects of these international circumstances, because, like you said, it is a trickle-down effect, and it does affect us as well. Interestingly, I was reading an article very recently in relation to oil. It was actually talking about how some of the larger international oil companies, a lot of them, despite the increasing price of crude oil, that the private companies have still made lots of huge profits. So there's a huge question right now about how much of the extra costs are actually being passed on to consumers.
Yeah.
Whether at the wholesale level or even just retail when you go to the pump. So that's caused a huge. It's not as big as a concern as you think it would have.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that's going to be investigated further now that the initial reports are sort of breaking about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're right. The question is really being asked about government taxes and tariffs and where that can be mitigated, but not necessarily at the source. We haven't gone there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting because, you read a lot about, of course, the international companies like that are, they're multi-billion-dollar companies with huge amounts of influence and resources. So it's not, you would expect that if there was a way for them to manage to mitigate losses on their own part, even if it means passing it on to consumers, you'd expect them to go that route.
Yeah.
So I hope that that investigations like that are done further, just so we can get a full picture of what's going on to see if we're really getting a fair deal. And I think that what you brought it up, that a lot of people make that same argument in relation to our fuel taxes.
Yeah.
So I think that it's very justified if at the end of the day, we're going to be the ones who have to, pay and feel it. So I think that, reports like that are very important.
Absolutely. And yesterday we also got some sad news. It is a person that we've been following for quite a few years. We've joined her for a number of birthday celebrations over the years. Leonora Patnet, she is a household name. She's a centenarian living in Belize City, and she passed away yesterday. Her family informed the media, because the media has been a part of so many of her birthday celebrations. And at the age of 108, she has left this world. And it's so interesting because over the years she's been so lucid in interviews, offering insights on what allowed her, or what she feels allowed her to have this longevity in life. And you know, it's been things like not allowing things to bother you, and so it is really, you know, we've been following her for so long. It's important for us to provide that update as well, and you know, our condolences out to the family as well at this time. So it is, no matter how long the life lived, it still is sad to say goodbye.
For sure. So yeah, we definitely want to offer our condolences again to her friends, families, and loved ones.
Yeah.
And I think I did see that in the news, and of course, while I was saddened, I also thought how amazing it is to see somebody who lived, you know, over the span of over a century. Thinking about all of the history that she, you know, would have witnessed firsthand. Being 108, she would have been born right off of the end of World War I. She would have seen, you know, I mean, she was born before Belize was Belize. It's still British Honduras. Gone through the labor movement, you know, the road to independence and self-government, and you know, it's incredible when you think, you know, somebody like that, you know, she got to see Belize go from a colony to being self-governing to being fully independent, and you know, 40 years, and then getting to see us mature as a country 40 years later. So what she witnessed over the years was probably incredible, and it makes the loss even greater because you know, we're losing a bit of history of that first-hand account of what you know, what a part of Belizean history.
And she would be one of the few people on Earth who would have lived through 2 pandemics.
Yeah, exactly, right? I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So, but I think on a positive note, it was great to be able to have shared those last few years with her and bring her story out to the public. She had quite a few visits from politicians as well. Yeah. So that was also interesting because she became such a personality. I don't know if we've ever verified if she is the oldest citizen in Belize. That's perhaps something we'd have to get from Vital Stats, but we've never been informed of someone who has lived longer than that. And yeah, 108. Do you want to live that long?
Well, I mean, if I could be as lucid and as energetic as her, then yeah, I think I could do that.
Okay. Yeah, I have criteria. It's like,
for sure.
I would if there all these things are met, because you know, I think the challenge for anybody when they think of aging is that they don't want to be dependent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I definitely I think about that too. But I think it'd be interesting again, just like to compare over the years. So I think, you know, to live that long, you must know what everything there is to know about life by that time. So I think I definitely want to reach that level of wisdom and maturity.
All right, well, we got to get moving into our show for today. There's a lot more that was happening. I mean, it was a packed weekend. You had trade winds happening. You had the visit of the Mexican president. There are quite a few updates from the Prime Minister, from Minister Karim Musa, who did in fact say that they are respecting the process for the referendum. So there may very well be a referendum coming on the issue of the legalization of marijuana. But of course, the process that is ongoing at this time is the vetting of those signatures that were submitted by the church.
Yes, absolutely. Meeting the threshold of several thousand signatures is the first step of just, you know, submitting, and then there is, I believe, a 3-month period in which the signatures are going to be vetted, and if everything is in order at the end of that period or before, once the exercise is finished, then they would announce whether there's going to be a referendum and when and how, and I suppose all the planning that will start to go into it at that stage.
Go ahead.
Yes, and it's going to be interesting for a number of reasons, especially considering at the stage where we are in the whole legislative process, and you know, what the public reaction, if they, or what the response is going to be, I should say, if we do end up having to to host a referendum on the issue.
Yeah, my question has been consistent for me, which is, what's going to be the question?
Exactly.
Are we going to undo the decriminalization process, which already is in law, or is it simply about the regulations moving forward? A referendum is we've seen in the past, it's two options, yes or no, or it was 13th senator or elected senator. And yeah, we had the oil referendum, but that was a people's referendum because that never actually got approved for the process. So yeah, what would be the question?
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, and I couldn't really think of a yes or no question that would neatly sort of encapsulate everything that's being spoken about, which again is also some of the reasons why a lot of people have said that the referendum is not their way to go, even if you do want to halt this process or make it or allow for greater contribution or consultation.
Yeah.
So and especially in the context of what you raised, that the fact that the decriminalization has been part of the law for several years, as well as the sort of restorative justice element to it, where people can get their records cleaned, or people who are currently serving time for drug-related offenses, certain drug-related offenses, can actually apply to basically have their convictions expunged so that they can come out. So I think those things have actually been positives, and I think a lot of people have. I mean, not only from the personal perspective, but also from the government's view of saving resources on prison, not incarcerating nonviolent people, things like that. So the question is, what is going to be the question? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there's time. There's time for them to sort that through, and I'm sure there will be consultation taking place with those who have brought the request for the referendum to decide exactly what is the key decision that they feel need to be made. But that was an update that Minister Musa provided over the weekend. As I said, we got to get moving into our show. There's lots more we can discuss, but of course you can get updated in our newscast at 6 p.m. tonight. We're going to shift gears now to some motivation to get your day started, and that means it's time for Eye Opener. And our Eye Opener for today goes like this. Your very own inner wisdom should be valued more than any other, and will always guide you in the direction you need to travel. Throughout our lives, we will encounter individuals who presume to know what is best for us. The insights they offer cannot compare, however, with the powers of awareness and discernment that already exist within us. From birth, we are blessed with wisdom that cannot be learned or unlearned. It exists whether or not we acknowledge it, because it is a gift given to us by a loving universe before we choose to experience existence on the earthly plane. It is when we do not use our inborn wisdom that we begin to doubt our personal truths and are driven to outside sources of information because we are afraid. What we know to be true in our hearts is invariably true, and we discover how intensely beautiful and useful self-trust can be when we recognize the power of our wisdom. In the whole of your existence, no force you will ever encounter will contribute as much to your ability to do what you need to do and be who you want to be as your natural wisdom. If you heed this wisdom with conviction and confidence, the patterns, people, and fears that held you back will be dismantled, paving the way for you to fulfill your truest potential.
That's a really nice eye-opener. And, basically telling you to trust your instinct and trust your gut, which can be hard. And I think that the very beginning of the eye-opener mentioned probably one of the biggest obstacles to that, and that's, other people trying to tell you what to do or what's best. When, you know, deep down inside you know, oftentimes you know exactly what it is that would be best. Especially if it's just for you, if it's a personal decision, you know what you can handle, what you enjoy, and so when you're making a decision, you know, of course it's great to ask for advice, but you know, you can't at the end of the day ignore your instinct, because, you know, or as they call it, I like the inner wisdom, you know, that because it's true, because that is born from our own experiences and our own feelings. So I definitely agree with the eye-opener, and that you should definitely and trust yourself.
Yeah, you know, I think it's very realistic. I think when it talks about the pressures that you feel externally, oftentimes you may be having people who think they know what's best for you. Sometimes, let's be honest, it's practicality, especially when it comes to career choices and professions. You know, if your parents or if you're seeking scholarships to finance school, there are things that you have to consider. But I do find, and it's really interesting when we talk, especially to artists here in Belize, artists of all form, when they reach that point that they say to themselves, this is what I always wanted to do, and I'm going to go after it, even if it's not the most lucrative career for me. This is where my heart or desire is. And so that's such a powerful thing for people to pursue, and so brave as well, because so many of us feel like we're not quite fit to be in whatever it is that we're pursuing, and you know, it's difficult to take that jump.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, you know, we have to remind ourselves that, you know, opportunities or you know, whatever may come your way does happen for a reason.
Yeah.
And so I think that if you are in that situation where you're feeling self-doubt, think about how you got there. You know, irrespective of what people are telling you, think about how you did to get there, and use it as a fuel to, you know, get you through and give you some confidence. Say that, you know, you're there for a reason, and that, you know, you can do a good job.
All right. And so that is the eye-opener for this morning, and we are going to shift gears into our weather update. We have Derek Redon on the line. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm doing good, thank you.
You're cool at the moment?
Where I'm, yes, inside.
I know. If I were to guess, the prediction is hot, hot, hot for today?
Well, not as hot as yesterday. Yesterday, the temperatures, the highs range from about 88 or 89 along the coast to 99 inland.
Ooh.
Today, we're going for a little less.
All right. So this
But
is considered
still warm,
progress. All right. Give us the update then. What can we expect for today?
Okay, mostly sunny today, sunny and warm, with the chance for an isolated thunderstorm to develop over the mountains or along the western border. Tonight, partly cloudy with little or no rain. Winds from the east at 10 to 20 knots, and sea state choppy. And the highs for today then, 87 Fahrenheit along the coast, 96 inland, and 82 up in the mountains. The lows for tonight, 80 along the coast, 74 inland, 68 up in the mountains.
Okay, yeah, a few degrees less for today. And what about the rest of the week? We were told there may be some moisture coming in by midweek?
Right, so moisture increases a little tomorrow. So tomorrow then we can expect partly cloudy skies or cloudy at times with isolated showers, which is more than we have been getting lately. And then on Thursday, generally isolated showers, maybe a few more to the south, but all in all isolated.
All right, but we're not expecting a lot of rain. We'll still have that heat in between.
All right, that's right.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that update, Derek.
You're welcome.
You have a great day.
Stay
cool.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So there you have it. So it's going to be another warm one, like we said in the beginning of the show. But, you know, you can hope for a little bit of relief tomorrow.
That's right. And I just realized, Gavin, before we preview our show for today, today is May 10th. It's Dia de los Madres in Latin America. So there's always a raging debate over this, right? So people celebrate Mother's Day the second Sunday of May. But especially people with Hispanic roots, they talk about May 10th being Dia de los Madres.
Yep.
So you can celebrate both. You can give mom double the love.
Yeah, so feliz Dia de los Madres. De las Madres. I got it.
I said los, didn't I?
I didn't even hear. That's all.
All right, we're going to get moving into our show, and we have some interesting conversations lined up.
Yep, our first segment, we are going to be talking all about a series of webinars on the rights and responsibilities of employees and workers, and we're going to be joined by representatives from the Labor Department to talk all about that in our first segment.
Always have questions for the Labor Department, so now you have a way to ask it to them directly. The second part of the show, May 6th was International Nurses Day, and they have a week-long celebration ongoing. So we're going to talk to two nurses about Nurses Week, about the profession, why they chose it, and why it's so important to the healthcare system.
And finally, we're going to be talking all about a recruitment drive for Belize Friends School in our final segment, and that is going to we're going to be joined by the principal of the school, and we're going to be learning a little bit about them and all about their new drive.
All right, so that's what, and then we're going to close off with trending topics.
Yep, it is Tuesday, so I'm going to be giving you a rundown of some of the trending social media topics over the past week, and that's going to be right before our wrap up.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and take that break. When we come back, we're going to be talking to representatives of the Labor Department about their webinar series. So please stay tuned.
After a rough week of school, Jake and his friends decide to treat themselves to frozen coffee. And since they don't have cash on them, they decide to use eCash. With eCash's geolocation feature, Jake can easily find the nearest coffee spot. With eCash's built-in option to split bills, Jake can pay the bill and his friends can reimburse their portion of the bill. Jake scans the merchant's code and confirms payment. Jake then views his transaction history and taps on the transaction recently made, then taps the Split the Bill button where he selects the Evenly option to evenly split the bill. The application splits the bill automatically. His friends receive and accept the request. Geolocation and splitting the bill via eCash makes Jake enjoy his digital lifestyle.
Since its launch, over 900 students have successfully completed the Social Security Scholarship Program.
I am Renata Samuels. I am the Year Report Coordinator for the Department of Youth Services. I received the Social Security Scholarship for high school in 2010. Upon receiving it, I was beyond happy, thankful, and super relieved to know that I relieved my mom from the financial constraint of having to pay for my high school. It actually pushed me to work even harder to know that I am deserving of this scholarship. I implore others, apply for this scholarship. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain, as well as being one step closer to your own dreams.
The Social Security Board is committed to providing educational opportunities to persons on a mission to improve their lives and communities.
I'm always on the go, and the country is my home. So when I want to get away from it all, I immerse myself with my favorite movies, all from the new Smart Stream app. It's easy to use this service. Purchase your movies from the app and use your mobile data, Smart Stream data packages, or smart broadband to stream and enjoy. Be like me and stream on the go with Smart Stream.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5 Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
And we're back, and if you're joining us right now, we're just getting our first segment for this morning started. And as we mentioned before the break, we are joined by representatives of the Labor Department, and they're going to be talking all about some webinars on the rights and responsibilities of employees and workers. So joining us via Zoom, we have Risela Dominguez-Pat, who is a senior labor officer, and Marcel Teos, who is a labor officer. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
And thank you for joining us. We definitely appreciate the chance to talk about this initiative, which is really important. So why don't we start by just giving a little bit of a background on how the idea for the webinars came about. Perhaps Rizella can take that.
Yes, so let me take that. Good morning, and thank you very much for having us here today. So the idea of the webinar came about because, well, due to COVID, we all understand that technology is now the way to go. And so people, the general public, including workers and employers, they're always calling us for advice. And in the past, what we would do is that we would, especially during Labor Day, one of our activities were that we would invite employers and workers to join us in a workshop kind of setting. And so because of COVID, then we cannot have so many people. And so that's where the idea came out, whereby we would have to use what is being used today, which is the webinars, meetings and workshops through Zoom, and that is where it all came about. And the reason why it came in May is because the Labor Department always celebrates the International Labor Day. And so as part of our activities, then this is one of our activities that we decided to do during this month of the celebration of the International Labor Day.
So how aware do you think the public is, on a general sense, of their rights and responsibilities as workers?
Well, that is one of the main reasons, also one of our objectives to creating this webinar, is because we understand that they may not be so familiar with their rights and responsibilities, or where the sections that affect them can be found. And so that's one of our objectives, that we need to educate the public. We need to make them aware of their rights, but we need to also understand that with rights comes responsibility. And so both go together. And we also need to understand that both have to respect each other. And so that is why the creation of the idea of the webinar came about, because we need to make the public aware that there are rights and responsibilities for both parties, and where they can find those sections in the legislation, and also be able to explain to them what these sections really mean. But more than that, if they have any questions, then we're here to be able to assist them.
I think that's such an important point. Maybe we get Marcel in here to share on that. You know, you guys don't get enough recognition because, in fact, I know a part of your responsibility is just answering questions. Anything labor related, what's in the law, what's allowed, not allowed, what's expected, not expected. People can actually contact the labor office to be able to get that type of advice.
That is correct. For us, the most important for us is Well, the most important thing is to make sure that both employers and workers know their rights.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. And that's why with these webinars, we separate it by periods of areas in the Labor Act where people can understand every week. So last week, me and Ms. Dominguez, we did the leave in the labor law. And then this week, tomorrow, I think it's severance. And then the following weekend, the following. So there's 4 modules. The reason why we are doing that is because for us in labor, it tends that everybody in society, or I believe that for our job, most people tend to go and get advice from other people. And by the time they realize it's the wrong advice and they make that mistake, they call labor to fix it. And it becomes very hard for us to do that sometimes. So this is very important for us to get to both employers and employees through labor educations like these.
Let me just jump in here and maybe we can help out a few people right now. What's the biggest mistake either workers or employers tend to make in the workplace?
The biggest mistake is to not call in the labor department first and seek your advice. That's the biggest mistake.
Oh, wow.
Everyone thinks that they know the law, or everyone believes that their law is the law. Remember, the law is there to guide you, and we give advice on the law. There's interpretations, and people interpret differently. Why not get the people who are trained to interpret the law to you?
Yeah.
And do you find that there's one part, or what's the most common question that you do get in relation to what area?
Well, let me see. I believe every day it's either sick leave or vacation leave, or I have been terminated, or I want to terminate myself. It's so much. It's every day.
What's the confusion with sick leave?
If I can add,
Go ahead.
before we move on to the next question.
Yeah.
The reason why the webinars were created this way, because the topic of the webinar is rights and responsibilities for employers and workers. And under that topic, we're doing 4 modules. And so these 4 modules, the topics for these were selected based on advice that people ask us, the most questions that they have. And so we are catering based on that, what concerns, what questions people have most, so that we can address those. And so, as Ms. Diaz mentioned, some of the most questions that we get on a daily basis is the type of leave, including sick leave, vacation leave, maternity leave. Yes, and so as she rightly said, tomorrow we're going to have another session, which is one of those questions that people call on a daily basis as well, which includes the topic of severance pay and notice pay. And so all these webinars are based on the concerns and the questions that we receive on a daily basis.
No, it's always, I mean, you enter the workforce and you don't have any background on what is allowed within the legislation and not. Sometimes you sign on to contracts, sometimes you may sign on to agreements, or you simply accept the terms that have been offered to you. What happens in situations like those where you realize that the workplace itself may not have a proper grounding in the agreements that they're bringing in workers under?
One of our responsibilities, and this is what was explained in the first webinar, our functions in the Labor Department, because we want the public to know what we do so that we can be able to serve you. You can come to us so we can be able to serve you. And one of our functions is the vetting of those contracts. So if a contract is not vetted by the Labor Department, it becomes null and void. So So we do the attestation of those contracts. And one of the things that we promote at the Labor Department is social dialogue. It means that we want to get together both the workers and the employers to see, in the workplace, several problems tend to come up, several issues, maybe disagreements, grievances. And so we are the middle person. We are not on the side of the worker nor on the employer. We are the middle person whereby we want to bring both together and together find a solution.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen in the past where you've been proactive about getting some of the common misinformations, or I guess sometimes people are confused with interpretation, and that was the time and a half. That was a few years ago, I think, where you had to kind of break down to people what time and a half really means. Are there other areas like that where there are two very firm, two very different interpretations of the law?
One of the sections of the legislations which are not properly understood, or maybe workers tend not to know, would be the notice, whereby both parties are responsible to provide notice. Both of them have the right to receive notice, and also they have the responsibility, if they decide to resign or terminate an employee, to give notice. And so the rights and responsibility go both ways. Both employers and workers, they both have that right, and they have the responsibility as well.
Yeah.
And let me just say to that, what Riz said. With notice, it is vice versa. The same amount of notice that the employer should give you, you are also should give the employer. So the employer is not the one who will always give notice. And that is one of the biggest mistake a lot of people make, workers especially. Yeah. So that is something important for them to look at the webinar, it'll be on Facebook and also on the webinar tomorrow, and understand the notice and the severance and how it goes together.
What's your format? Do you simply present the information, or do you also take questions from participants?
We took about myself and Priscilla was the first two last week. So this is like a trial. We were the guinea pigs, I should say, last week. So we took over 40 questions.
Wow.
We actually had to cut it off because it was so many questions.
Yeah.
Some questions were going into the other modules, and we don't want people to get confused. We were only talking about leaves, and so that we wanted to stick to that leave. So tomorrow, Ms. Lam, who is the Deputy Labor Commissioner, and Mr. Paul, they will be the two who will tackle severance and notice pay, which is going to be over 40 questions again.
I'm sure you'll have more.
And actually,
yes.
You said something earlier again about addressing grievances, and I think that that can arise, from just regular conduct within the workplace, but it can also occur from either an employer misinterpreting the law and requiring certain things, or So I suppose like the first, a two-part question in relation to that, I guess. The first is there any scope for the Labor Department to intervene in certain situations like that? And if not, what do you tell employees about the best way to go about addressing some problems or grievances which they may have at the workplace?
Well, let me go first, and then Priscilla could complete, because that's a lot that you asked. You remember the labor law is a guideline, and each section has what the Labor Department can do and what labor officers can do. So we use many hats. We are inspectors in the workplace. We go and inspect your workplace. We attest your contracts. and we give you advice. We vet your work permit. We work with the trade unions, and we promote health and safety in the workplace. And also we have an employment unit that we work close with. So for us, the law is there. We can go into any workplace. That's what the law says. That is the first issue. We always, for myself as a labor officer, I would prefer if a company would have an HR or human resources department. But in Belize, there are a lot of small shops that cannot afford a human resource manager or a human resource supervisor. And for that, the employer himself or herself does all the paperwork as a payroll clerk, as a supervisor, as everything. They wear many hats, and so they become frustrated. And the worker who wants answers there's that battle. And we always say, our numbers are there. Call us and allow us to help you with those procedures so that both sides can understand. We also consult. If you like, you can call us and let us come into your workplace, and we just sit there as your advisor and make sure that the two sides come together. There are very few companies that I know in Belize that would always do that. They would always say, call the labor department and say, can we have a meeting, myself and my worker, so that we can battle this issue with how many leave that they need to get, or what is their severance and so forth.
Yeah.
I'll allow Ms. Risela could answer the next part.
Yes, as Ms. Dale said, in the workplace, there may tend to be grievances when both parties either one do not understand, or the other believe that he's being cheated. And so that is when a grievance might come up. And so how would the labor department intervene is that the worker can always call us, because one of our functions is to give labor advice. And if the person truly believes that he has or she has a complaint, one of the other functions that we do is that we take labor complaints and we investigate those complaints. And so any worker can visit any labor office countrywide and lodge their complaint, or simply call for advice, or let us know, there's an issue at this workplace. Can you all come in and do an inspection? Or even the employer, when he is seeing that conflicts are arising, then he can call us and say, I need a labor education. Can you all come in and give a labor education session? That is another function that we do. We go into the workplaces and we give those labor education to either the staff or the employers. Yeah. And if the company wants catered, like say, for example, they have several issues with notice, then we can come in and give such labor education depending on what your request is as an employer. And we're very happy when employers call us and ask us for help, because we know that this will avoid a future grievance.
Yeah. Now, what happens if you get repeated requests for information or expressions of concern of one workplace? Do you go in to see where the core of the problem is?
Yes, we certainly would go in and have a meeting with the employer and find out what really is the cause of such grievance or complaint or issue, yeah, and try to find a solution, yeah, and try to guide the employer for such solution.
Yeah. Because
as Ms. Steels rightly said, sometimes we serve as counselors. So we wear several hats, but certainly when a repeated offense, or we get complaints repeatedly from the various workers, then definitely we know that we have to come in and find out what the problem is.
I remember. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but the main issue is that a labor complaint don't just come as a labor complaint. Although we do the same job over and over every day, we are guided by the labor law, each complaint is always different. Although they're asking about vacation, although they're asking about notice, severance, it is all, or sick leave, maternity leave, it is always different because there's always a backstory to each one of those questions. And that's why we ask that workers should come in, because as what Risela says, we actually play the role of counselors, or I don't want to say psychologists, or because I don't have a paper for being a psychiatrist.
But like a mediator, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
So before that person explained to you the reason why they were terminated, or the reason why they were dismissed, or the reason why they were sick, especially the reason why they were sick, and they really want to be paid for that sick, is because there is a backstory. And so we have to sit there and listen to the backstory, because most of the time workers or I will say workers mostly are juggling so many things, especially single mothers. They're dealing with their children, they're dealing with co-workers, they're dealing with their boss, they're dealing with family issues. And so we have to be understandable, and listen to them, listen to whatever story they have to say before they get to the real story of labor, because the story is actually labor that is going to come into, but there's a private life first. And so we sit and listen, because sometimes some people don't have anyone to listen to, and that is one of the things that Labor Department and Ministry of Labor had trained us to sit, listen, and confidentiality. And that's what we do best.
And I guess for workers, the concern is if I take a complaint, my workplace may find out. Is that the case?
Well, in the labor law, the employer has the right to know who is complaining about against them. That's why we do a lot of inspections. So if you're doing a claim and you're asking for sick leave that wasn't paid, we must tell the employer who is asking for the sick leave that was not paid, because how is it going to be paid? Or vacation leave that was not paid. We must say, well, John Smith is asking for his vacation. This has been over 1 year, and the person hasn't gotten a 2 weeks vacation. But when it's certain information that they bring to us, and they would just call in or just say, you know, I want to stay as a concerned citizen, then we will go in, as what Risela said, and do an inspection, and then we can see the issue there also.
And do you ever get resistance from employers, whether it's from, they don't want to allow the inspections or disclose certain things? Do you ever encounter that?
Uh-oh. Both are laughing. Clearly, this is a regular situation.
It's like a cat and mouse game sometimes. Yes, we do, because, of course, employers are being their own HR. They know that certain things are not by law, and Belize is small. It's once we. I don't want to throw them under the bus, but once we speak with them, and they understand.
Yeah.
And so from the beginning, yes, mostly it's just mom and pop stores or small office places or so would not really understand the law. Again, as I said, the persons who know the law is the Labor Department. So call them. Don't call a doctor to get labor advice. Don't call a public officer to get a labor advice. Call a public officer from the Labor Department, because they have their different policies.
I was going to say public officers have their own regulations. It's
correct.
Different. Yeah.
That's right. And they do give advice to their family members, and they should not do that, because the labor law, they are not governed under the labor law.
Yeah. You know, I think you said something important in the beginning, where it just simply is sometimes you pass down information. Information gets passed down, And it's not always correct, or somewhere, just like gossip, no? It changes along the way.
That's right. That's right.
But this is why the webinar is a great opportunity for people to ask it directly. Let's talk about how people can sign up, and if there's any confidentiality even in the webinar in asking questions.
What they can do is that we have a link whereby posted on Facebook, they can go to our page and click so that they can be able to register.
Yeah.
Or if, there's a flyer, they can click the link on the Facebook page and they can register.
Yes.
But they can also view it live because it will be live streamed on our Facebook page tomorrow at 3 p.m. as well. And regarding the questions that they can ask, it would be general questions.
Okay.
We don't post who asked the questions. Anybody can just type a question, because that's how the format that we are doing it. They type the questions and then we read the questions and answer the questions. So we're not saying who asked such question, but we're simply answering questions that are being asked.
And you're answering questions on from both Facebook and Zoom?
From Zoom, because what we noted this time, there wasn't questions on Facebook.
Okay.
But this time we're I don't know if they were not aware, but this time we're promoting that yes, we're doing it live stream as well, so that people, if they don't want to register, they can see it live stream via Zoom, and they can also ask their questions. And if, let's say, for example, we reach, because it's 1 hour, and we went a little above the 1 hour last week. And so if there are other questions, they can always email us and we can respond to their questions.
All right. So tomorrow's topic is severance pay and notice pay. And then you have 2 more modules. Tell us what those topics are.
Yes, these are given on the Wednesdays. So the following Wednesday, May 18, with the other topic is termination of employment. And on May 25th, the next topic will be work ethics and code of conduct.
All right. Some really interesting topics that you have lined up there. And of course, as you said, you are answering questions live in the webinar, so people can join in and post or send the question of any inquiry that they have that is labor related. And it's both for employers and workers. Thank you so much for sharing the details with us, ladies.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
All right. And with that, we are going to go ahead and take a break.
And when we come back, we're going to be talking all about Nurses Week, and we're going to be joined by some nurses in our studio. So please stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
Digifans, the 2022 Belize telephone directory is now available. Pick up your free copy at any Digistore and ENR branches countrywide. Check out our cellular, residential, and Yellow Page listings. It's the most complete guide in Belize. You can also access the directory on the go by downloading the free Find Yellow mobile app from the Google Play and Apple Store. For more info, log on to www.findyellow.com. The 2022 Belize Telephone Directory. Get your copy today.
This May will be amazing at Belize. Get amazing deals and great gifts from Mom. We have Pyrex Bakeware, Chicago Cutlery Knife Sets, Corningware, Snapware, and the elegant yet durable Coral Dinnerware Sets at amazing prices. Check out our impressive line of Sankey appliances and much, much more. Take advantage of these amazing deals all May long, only at Benny's, celebrating 75 years of quality and savings.
Are back and moving into our second conversation for today. Very happy, very proud to be joined by two nurses from the KHMH in the middle of Nurses Week. We have with us Sister Casilda Bowman, who is the unit manager of the COVID and Persons Under Investigation Ward, and also Accident and Emergency. And we have Nurse Josue Valdez, who is also in the COVID ward. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
We are happy that there is enough time for you to be able to be with us. I think yesterday there are only 2 reported hospitalizations for COVID after 2 years. I'm sure you're taking a deep breath, hoping it doesn't go back up.
Well, I mean, yeah, we have 2 positive, but we have about 9 patients, 10.
Oh, yeah. Under the investigation.
We still have patients under investigation as well. So, yeah, but it's looking good so far.
There's a lot to talk about when we talk about the nursing profession. And, I mean, we could talk about the shortage and the challenges. But let me just find out personally from you, what pushed you to want to become a nurse?
You want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, let me see. I think from a child, I grew up in the health system. My mom I mean, I remember from the old hospital days, my mom was a med tech there, so I grew up seeing patients receiving care, and as far as I can remember, I remember thinking like, I want to be that person.
Yeah.
I want to be that person on the other side taking care of people. And so as I grew up, the feeling never left.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to figure out what else I was good at, and then it seems like, okay, yeah, nursing is the choice. And so nothing steered me away from it.
And even that point, because what happens a lot of times is people say they want to be a nurse and then they make that shift, medical school instead.
Yeah.
Even at that point for you, it was always wanting to be a nurse.
Yes. I mean, I felt like I could have gone forward and to be a medical officer, but I felt like it's so important. I mean, they don't get much time with the patients, and I like hands-on care. You don't want to see me in the emergency department.
Yeah.
Like, I am excited when I see. I should say that in
Yeah.
But I mean, I love it so much. Like, I love the hands-on. I love being there, being able to, make somebody feel like, we care. And because it's not all about what, suturing a patient, fixing a foot, but it's also having another little human touch to it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I love the most.
Yeah.
Like, I really do love it. I love having them feel like, like we care for you.
Yeah.
So.
And for you?
Well, in my case, my mother inspired me a lot because, well, I noticed that she likes to help people a lot. You know, every time people come to her, and she's always willing. So, seeing that, I said, okay, well, I want a job that where I will be in a position to help people as well. I was new. I wanted to be in the healthcare system. I didn't know if it was going to be nursing, but when I went into nursing, I liked it. I noticed all the possibilities, all the career opportunities in nursing, and I love it. And so basically my mother and, seeing how she likes helping people, that's what inspired me.
Now, this is one of the few professions that we're not talking about it being male-dominated. So you have a reverse position than most people. You knew that you would be one of the few male nurses. That was not anything in your mind? You being a male nurse, what's the difference?
Well, there are so many differences. First, what I encounter like on a daily basis, I would say, is people, when they would see you wearing a scrub, they would say, okay, doctor, good morning, doctor. They immediately assume that, males are doctors. And of course, I correct them and say I'm a nurse because I'm proud to be a nurse. Another thing would be sometimes female patients would not be comfortable with a male taking care of them. So those things would be what stands out the most.
Yeah.
But also it's a privilege because I have the stage, the opportunity to inspire young males, that want to become nurses. Other males are nurses already and it's going well for them. So that is also, in my favor.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's interesting how you can see the gender stereotype from the other end, but you take the opportunity to correct them. Let's talk about the profession itself. It's seen as caring and nurturing, but Casilda, I think you said it, the nurses are the persons who are with the patients most of the time. And so you build relationships and you have to see people through a really tough time.
Yeah.
How do you learn to develop that skill? I mean, you can't learn that in school no matter what.
Yeah, and that's so true. And I think last week I was telling my doctors, like, how can I teach empathy? How can I teach this? And I realized, no, you have to have it. It's something that you develop over time. And one of the things that I really do recognize is that it's something hard to do.
Yeah.
And people can't really blame nurses when they don't show that because it's extremely hard. I mean, I am naturally caring. I am naturally that nurturer. I am naturally a touchy person.
Yeah.
All right. So it does help, but sometimes it's hard because patients are hard to deal with. Them coming with their own element makes us hard to do our job.
Yeah.
And so having to prepare that, to give that other element is really not that easy.
now that she said about, you know, the nursing is a nurturing profession, coming back to your question, historically females have been seen as the more nurturing gender, you know. So that's another thing when it comes to the gender difference in nursing, males and females. Sometimes you would think that or like being a male, you wouldn't have that caring or like nurturing aspect to your personality. But like she said, how do we teach empathy? How do we teach, you know, being a nurturing person? But I guess that just comes with your personality. As you see the sick person, you know, you automatically develop that role.
Yeah.
But also, what did you say? What was your question again?
It was about being a male in the profession, and then you were talking about how you have empathy. You it's almost like you innately have it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That, and so like I was saying, people usually say, okay, well, you're a nurse, so you can't really be nurturing. But another thing would be, persons come to the hospital and they don't understand, you know, you're a nurse, but you also have other problems when it comes to moral distress, emotional distress. Those are two things that people don't usually know about the profession. So it's not always easy, you know, because there are so many other things. Like, for example, a person just had a baby, but you also just saw somebody else die. So you have to take a few seconds and, you know, just compose yourself and go deal with that person, because you can't, you know, mix the two things. So that's one of the things that people don't always understand about nursing.
Yeah.
It's very dynamic.
Yeah.
And then it's also can be physically demanding as well. I mean, you're on your feet for most of the time that you're working. So can you talk a little bit about the different range of activities which your jobs might involve?
Well, Valis can really tell. I mean, the nurses really do have a lot of time on their feet. I mean, as a manager, I have a more downtime per se, but I still do a lot of walking up and down. The thing is that as a nurse, you are in a constant state of preparedness. And so because of that, we are triaging everything in our heads. All right, so we have 15 patients and we have to figure out in our head which one comes first. And so sometimes it takes a lot of moving up and down, so we're always on our feet. I don't know, Valdez could give a...
Well, when it comes to the physical demand that you said, especially when we were talking about the COVID unit, you know, in the past year, you had to be in the suit. Well, we still have to wear the suit, but less now than before. Like in my case, I sweat a lot, right? So being in that suit, I would just come out and like I'd be soaked. And you know, being in there, I remember this one time I worked a 16-hour shift, like a double shift, and I was in there for like 12 out of my 16 hours in the suit, you know, dealing with patients. So my colleagues, I will always tell them I'm proud of them, because they worked through that the worst of the pandemic, and physically that was very, very, very demanding.
Yeah. Now, when you look at the lessons that have been learned over the past 2 years, there's always been a shortage. I tell people there's always been a shortage of nurses, but COVID highlighted how bad it was. And we also saw where some of your colleagues left in the midst of the pandemic. Have you seen, with all the attention that has been given on this issue, more people asking you about the profession, considering the profession?
Not really.
No?
I think with having more scholarships being available, I think that can entice people a little bit more, because of course the nursing profession is very expensive and times are hard. But really, yes, we are extremely short, and I don't think the shortage is going anywhere, because it's globally short. And so I'm just hoping and appealing to people, as if they really see that it's something that they feel like they want to do, then they should go for it.
So that the challenge with the shortage is what makes the profession a bit harder at the moment, because you have much longer shifts. Explain to us what the day, you said 16 hours?
Yes. So I mean, with the shortage of nurse, it really leaves us on life support, for a lack of a better word. Because even me, like, and I have him also making duties, and to make the duty, just to make it balanced, I have to put people on double shifts. all right, so that we can cover the unit. So we have a lot of people working overtime, taking up different shifts just for us to have a good coverage.
So on average, instead of an 8-hour workday, you do a 16-hour workday.
And I have most people working maybe 4 shifts, 16 hours then.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's the collaboration like among, you know, when you're working as a team of nurses, let's say, how do you, so how is the support systems like, and you know, to manage everybody's activities and I suppose stress level as well?
Good question. Okay. One thing I must say, and I can only speak to COVID unit because I am working in COVID unit and I know I'm managing emergency, but from the perspective of that, we have excellent teamwork.
Yeah.
I mean, to the point where if we're short, somebody will only stay because, not because they need the money or because they want to stay, but because they want to help their colleague. That's the only reason they stay.
Yeah.
And so that demonstrates a lot, and that's something that I was striving for, and I'm thinking that we are getting it, and I'm happy and excited. Yes, because we're demonstrating teamwork. And that's important in any field, because if you are there and you don't have support, then you feel demoralized, you feel that moral distress. So teamwork definitely helped.
Yes, we also try to do a lot of team building exercises.
Yes.
Because, you know, of course, there will always be misunderstandings, there will always be issues, but we try to work past them. We try to have a lot of team building exercises, like almost like twice a week. And we've noticed that that has also helped us to be more cohesive as a group, to help each other a lot more.
Yes.
Med nurse, I remember last time when we had, it wasn't the last time, but the time we had the real breakdown from you and one of your nurses in the COVID unit of the realities of the mental stress of dealing with COVID-19. And while the pandemic had its own challenges, I mean, that's a mental stress, as you pointed out just now. You know, you may have somebody dying and then somebody giving birth. How do you learn to deal with that part, the emotional stress of it?
We're still learning.
Let's ask the new, because I know you were a psychiatric nurse practitioner, right? So, yeah?
Well, in my case, I like to read a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Let me start with that. So I've read a lot of articles when it comes to emotional distress, moral distress.
Okay.
And in those articles, I found ways how to deal with that, with the stress, how to deal with the like PTSD, I would say. Because, for example, I'm at home sometimes and like my nose itches, and before I touch my face, I have to wash my hands, even though I'm at home.
Yeah.
You know, so those things you have to, you know, stop and tell yourself, okay, I'm at home, my hands are clean, you know.
I'm safe.
I'm safe. But also, what we started doing lately is playing volleyball. So I found that has also helped me, you know, to disconnect. You know, when it comes to the work, okay, like at 3 o'clock I leave, I don't want to think about work anymore. I'm going to play, or sometimes I read, sometimes I watch series. So, you know, connect with your family, with your friends. So those things I've noticed that have really helped.
You found your own coping mechanisms.
Yes, I found my
Yeah.
Well, for me, I think that also disconnecting is very important. It's hard. I mean, I usually, I'm at work. I feel like I just go home to sleep sometimes. But yeah, having good dynamics with my staff really helps me to cope as well. And I think it helps us to cope better. I think that's one good thing. And of course, the volleyball is really helping. We're really taking out some of the frustration on the ball. we have a competition today, COVID unit versus emergency, and then we have two other teams. But you manage
both.
Yes, that's why I'm playing on the COVID though.
Oh, all right.
Yes, but we also have 2 other teams, and we're hoping that it becomes something, it should be something that the whole hospital will initially do as a interdepartmental volleyball challenge. And I think that would be something that is going to help us, you know, really disconnect and let's take our mind off something for a little hour.
Yeah, I mean, you can love the work that you do, but you still have to take care of yourself. Now, I mentioned a bit earlier that you were a psychiatric nurse practitioner before you were the unit manager. It allows people to know that there are specialities in nurses.
Yes, correct.
Let's talk about some of the nurse specialists that we do have, and where we have the greatest needs.
Yes.
Do you have an area that you want to specialize in?
Emergency nursing.
Emergency nursing, right?
Yes.
Why? Because that's where all the action is.
Yes, definitely. I like the drama.
Uh-huh.
Like, I like the adrenaline.
I like the blood.
See, that was the question I had from earlier, but you said you grew up around the hospital,
Yeah.
so you got the squeamish part about blood over with quickly.
Yes, oh, I love it. I mean, if a gunshot comes, I'm all in, I'm on the bed, I do whatever it takes to save the life.
Okay.
Well, that's how you know this is a calling, because I think Marlene and I are having the same. We're like, wow, I don't. It seems like it would be kind of scary for like a normal person to deal with and see that sort of thing.
Definitely. I mean, I've had people vomit on me. I'm like, oh, I just move it out of my eyes so I can see, and I continue. It's okay.
Okay, it's going to take me a moment to move past that image, but let's go back to the specialty part, right? What are some of the other specialties?
We have nurse midwives.
Okay. But we have to say what they do.
Yes, so these are specifically to help deliver the babies, and they are specifically only for delivering.
Okay.
All right, so what else? We have the ER nurses, we have the psychiatric.
Theater.
Yeah, we have the scrub nurses, we have the
rural health nurses.
Rural health nurses. So, and there's a lot of different specialties in the rural health part. Then dialysis,
yeah.
then
we also have nurse educators.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's really a lot of options you have.
Do we have many opportunities in Belize to do those specialities? I know we have the nursing school, but if you want to do a nurse specialist course, you have to leave Belize? Or you do it online? I don't know.
Well, psychiatry, for example, the last psychiatry specialization was 13 years ago.
Oh,
and so even with our cohort, we're still short. So that it's not a course that is always offered.
Okay.
The midwife nurse, that course is I think is more frequently offered.
I think last month
yes,
a
they
set
just
of midwives finished.
Okay.
And then the nurse educator is often offered as well. Everything else you have to go outside, because of course they have administrative posts that you can do, but those are at UII and other institutions, so they are available.
Where would you say is the greatest need?
Emergency.
No bias.
I mean, for me, emergency and midwifery, those are two things that they keep on having babies and they keep on crushing. So I think those are the two needs that really, because remember, we have nurses that work in the emergency department that are not specialized. No, they become specialized after time with experience, but they don't have that specialized degree.
Yeah.
All right? And we have only one emergency specialist in our country, which is Dr. Cruz.
And what I've noticed also that during the pandemic, we didn't have as many emergencies or like accidents because of course we had curfew and whatnot. But now that those restrictions are being lifted, we're having more patients coming in, more RTAs, and so the demand for the nurses is even greater now.
Yeah.
So that's why she said we need more nurses in the emergency department because of the emergencies that are starting to pick up because of the people are outside more, like how they say.
Yeah.
Definitely.
How many years have you been an RN?
A little over a year.
A little over a year.
But this is a rising star, okay?
Okay. But I want to ask the question though. A lot of our nurses are going to school with the goal of leaving the country. You're here right now working. What's it like for the rest of your graduating class? How many have stayed? How many have left?
I think, let me see. The group that I finished with, I think all of us are still here.
Okay.
I think only one person is leaving so far that I know of, but.
What would it take for us to keep our nurses in Belize as a fairly new graduate?
Well, salary, of course.
What's the difference between what you can make here versus somewhere else?
Huge.
It's a huge difference.
Huge.
A very huge difference. But apart from that, I could say that the specialty offering more specialties, you would also need, like I mentioned before, I like to read about the mental health about nurses. You would need to provide more resources for nurses to
support services.
Support services. Thank you. Also incentives when it comes to the nurses. Better working conditions. those would be the basics, you
Yeah.
know, to keep nurses here.
One important thing is a pension.
Pension.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yes.
But like another thing would be nurse patient ratio. You found that because of the shortage, we're working with like one nurse to 10 patients. You know, that's not a safe nurse patient ratio to work with, because you get burnt out really quick.
Yeah.
When it comes to that. So
not to mention that some of the patients don't get what they're supposed to get.
Yeah.
Right? You having 10 patients, it's hard to,
There's only
within
so
an
much
8-hour
time.
shift, you know,
Yeah.
it's hard.
Yeah. So that's promising though, that most of your classmates have stayed.
Yes.
But we do know that it is a continuous situation where we're trying to keep our nurses at home. Nobody's going to know how to handle a Belizean at their worst hour than another Belizean who could joke with them about rice and beans or something, you know, more local.
Right.
Yeah. How much does the cultural difference, we get nurses from other places, how much does that become a barrier?
Really and truly, the biggest barrier would be the language, and so that will only be from the Cuban nurses.
Okay.
For the most part, we, even though we have so much different culture, we tend to still get along.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just the barrier, and I don't speak Spanish, so that becomes extremely hard for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
we're trying to get her to learn Spanish.
Yes, I had committed to learn a sentence a day.
Okay, so what sentence?
Let's don't do that. I'm on
Let's
camera.
do that, right?
I'm on camera.
What's her test for today? Let's give her a sentence.
Valdez, don't do it.
He's like, that's my manager.
I don't know if I want to do that.
So let's talk about, you know, I'm sure you get invited to things like career days and stuff like that. What do you say to people? And you said it very early on, you have to want, it's like teaching. I see nursing and teaching, even when you talk about ratios, teachers have far more students than they should have in their classrooms. What do you say to people about becoming a nurse? If they feel it, what should they ask themselves, and why would they benefit from becoming a nurse? Who wants to start?
He just got, so I took him to a
career day.
Yes.
To a daycare. Well, I couldn't say much to them because, you know, they were like, how old?
Like
three,
5.
Yes,
three,
you say
4,
help
5.
people.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, I would ask them, you know, why do people go to a hospital?
Yeah.
And they would say, you know, when they're sick, to get help. So basically, that's the whole sense of being a nurse. You help sick people.
Yeah.
So in order to be a nurse, you have to like actually see yourself helping somebody, you know, because when people are sick, they turn into like a completely different person. They become so needy, like they want this, they want that. So if you don't see yourself helping somebody that's needy, I don't think you're gonna be a good nurse, you know, because like you have to want to help people. It's not just for the money. You're like, well, if it's for that, you know, at least help people if you're gonna go in for just for the money. But for the most part, if you want to become a nurse, the most basic thing would be you should want to help people.
Yeah. Yeah, but you said it's so important. You're seeing people at their worst.
Yes.
You know, whether it's in pain from a delivery or, you know, a wound of some sort. That's not their best version of themselves.
Yeah, definitely, and we see that a lot. You know, but.
And for you, what do you say to people?
I mean, I agree. I mean,
Maybe
there's
you
not
could
much.
convince Gavin.
I mean, he has such a nice job here, so it's, yeah. But for me, it really boils down to how big is your heart to help somebody else, because the skills, don't worry. For me, don't worry about that. If you feel like you can provide care for somebody, if you've done it for a family member and you feel that calling, that urge, that need to want to see that, okay, let me check, how is she doing, you know, a friend, that's something. All right, the skills, we can build on that. If you feel the need that you can and you are willing to help somebody, then go for it. Everything else will fall in place.
Yeah.
We can teach you everything else. It's the heart that we need.
Yeah.
It's the heart. Everything else can be taught.
And you know, circling back to the top of the conversation, so what does commemorating things like Nurses Weekend mean for you in the profession when you see people really appreciating the work that you do?
I feel like at this point, I mean, COVID have gotten a lot of attention, you know, but I think it's a different attention now. This is the spotlight on nurses on a whole. I think that nurses deserve it. I think we work hard, we are dedicated, and so it is something that is well deserved, well earned. I don't think that I don't know. That's my best word I can say.
Yeah. What type of activities? I see some ceremonies taking place. What type of activities have you been having for Nurses Week so far?
Well, yesterday we had a little ceremony. We had an award ceremony yesterday.
Oh.
We got some
Is there
pins.
best dancer from last year?
Oh no, we got some pins.
Okay.
Yeah, we got some pins. I think today, what's the activity for today? I don't remember the activity for today, but
Today's
we're
a
gonna
massage, a spa.
yeah, massage.
We have a cookout. We have a sports day, and we have a conference, an annual conference that we have on Friday. That's the last day.
Okay.
Of course, COVID, we have our volleyball competition. And just let me just do a little bit on yesterday. We had an award ceremony, and Nurse Valdez was awarded Nurse of the Year for dedication and commitment.
Nice. Congratulations.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was well deserved. And one more thing, I think you will be glad that he's here, because you will have the first interview for him when he's going to be the first male PNO. I'm telling you, he's going to. He is right now. He is my mentee. He's a young nurse, but one of the important things, I recognize that he can be a leader, and so I'm training him from now to be a leader, and he's doing excellent. And I hope that he continues. So this is more pressure. You're on TV, so you got to do it.
Nurse of the Year. What does that feel like?
Well, I was overjoyed.
Yeah.
You know, I really, I sent the picture to my family. I was like, you know, I sent it to my friends. I was like really overjoyed, because like I'm really passionate about what I do.
Yeah.
And I guess with that award, it really showed, you know, that people recognize my passion for it. And I have to thank her for being an amazing mentor as well.
All the sleepless nights in nursing school.
Definitely.
All the stress.
All the stress, but even now, like, I have sleepless nights, because I always tell her, you know, I'm reading this article, I read this last night, so it just doesn't end after you graduate. You know, you always have to keep current, you always have to keep striving to be the best.
And it all started with Mom, so we gotta say thank you to Mom this morning.
Especially now that it's, you know,
Dia de las
Madres. I want to say Happy Mother's Day to my mom. Yeah, so,
What's
and
her
all the
name?
other mothers. Enma.
What's her name? Say it into the camera.
Enma. Happy Mother's Day. Feliz Dia de las Madres.
Okay. So that's such a great. I didn't know we had the Nurse of the Year with us. If not, you know, we'd give you a sash or a crown or something.
You can still give me.
and quick little story, like I met his mom, and like I was just telling her how great his son is, you know, all the potential, and she just started to cry. Like she was such a proud mom.
That's pride, yes.
Yes.
Well, you are a great example to others as well, that if you have the heart and the passion for it, it will be recognized. And I think in both of you people can see that. So as we close off our session, I'm sure you want to give a shout out to the rest of nurses out there. So we'll give you that opportunity to close off. And thank you for coming in this morning.
It's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
You go, Valdez. Happy Nurses Week to all my KHMH nurses. Big up COVID unit and accident and emergency.
Okay, happy Nurses Week to everybody, especially KHMH COVID unit, but also all the KHMH staff and also all the nurses in Belize.
Okay, all right. And we did leave a challenge with them for viewers to know, for them to do another dance challenge. Tylen Tillett from the PR unit, he says he's going to start the dance, right? Yeah.
We'll
see if that happens. All right, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking to representatives of Belize Friends School. So please, stay tuned.
I'm always on the go, and the country is my home. So when I want to get away from it all, I immerse myself with my favorite movies, all from the new Smart Stream app. It's easy to use this service. Purchase your movies from the app and use your mobile data, Smart Stream data packages, or smart broadband to stream and enjoy. Be like me and stream on the go with Smart Stream.
the beer of Belize.
Galenia Hospital, located in Cancun, Mexico's premier tourism destination, is a state-of-the-art healthcare facility that provides highly specialized medical services. We are Quintana Roo's biggest private hospital with board-certified doctors and staff. Some of our services include cath lab, adult intensive care unit, neonatal intensive care unit, emergency rooms, operating theaters, ambulance services, and more. We are a medically accredited hospital by JCI, Accreditation Canada International, and General Health Council, providing extraordinary care in every specialty, from our cardiology department to our neurology center. We are focused on treating the entire person, body, mind, and spirit. Contact us at medicaltourism@hospitalgalenia.com or visit our website at www.hospitalgalenia.com. Come to Galenia Hospital in Cancun for a truly personal medical care experience.
Your life just got a lot less complicated with Belize Bank Contactless MasterCard Debit Card. Introducing our Standard Debit and MasterCard Platinum Debit Cards. Now you can make purchases anywhere MasterCard is accepted with one tap, pay and go. Your contactless card never has to leave your hands, especially in these times. And your card is embedded with multiple layers of security. Platinum card holders get to enjoy extra benefits like price protection, purchase protection, trip inconvenience, and luggage protection, just to name a few. Start enjoying a cashless lifestyle today with the Belize Bank.
We're back, and we're moving into our final conversation for today, where we are joined by representatives of Belize Friends School. And we have with us the principal of the school, Frank Tench, and one of the teachers, Patricia Welch. Good morning, and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
Now, for viewers who may not be aware of the school, Belize Friends School is a very important institution in Belize City. It is a second chance for young people to get back into the education system. Frank, tell us a bit about the work that you've been doing over the years.
Okay, Belize Friends School, as you rightly said, exists as a second chance school for many youngsters who, for a variety of reasons are unable to complete their standard 6 education. So we take students where they are with whatever failings or shortcomings they have, and we help those students to complete their standard 6 education and allow them to move on to high school if that is their choice, trade school, or get into the job market. We do it with a recognition that many families don't have the means to fund their sons or daughters' education. So we make our rates affordable, and we that's basically our mission.
And there's no age. What ages do you work with? I'm seeing some adult students there too.
Yeah. Okay, we start at a minimum of 12 years, which is a requirement from the Ministry of Education. We try to accept no student younger than 12 years, but the upper limit, there's really no upper limit. The normal age range is between 12 and 15 years, but we have students as old as 19 years. And just to jump the gun a little bit, that's one of the reasons we also have an adult education program. But the minimum age is at 12 years and older.
Whichever age that you fall into. So if someone leaves school, standard 4, standard 5, sometimes they may have a good working knowledge to read and write, but sometimes they don't. And when you have people at different levels, how do you teach them in a group?
Well, the thing is, first we do an assessment to see what level, which level they are. Then when we figure that out, then we can continue from there. So I, the teacher, just need to know the level, and then.
So you work with them on an individualized basis?
For the most part, when I'm finished doing the assessments, and then I can know where to begin, then I can know where to. Everybody can jump in together, and yes, we're on the same level now, or almost the same level, so we can learn together. Because that's probably the goal, so that they can learn together, because learning by yourself isn't fun for most people. Especially if you're at our school, then learning wasn't fun any at all, so that's what we're doing there.
And I'm interested to know how, I suppose, when people reach out, how does it usually happen then? Is it that you're usually contacted by the students themselves, or is it the family? How does that normally happen when people actually want to
get in touch with us? Yeah, there's a variety of ways this happens. Past students spread the word by word of mouth. Past graduate to tell his colleagues, well, boy, I went to this school and I recommend it. Parents do the same thing. Past parents spread the word. The traditional means of like what we're doing right now, getting on talk shows and spread the word, but a lot of it is word of mouth. That's been the method of how the school has been publicized for many years. And and like more recent years, we've been using the Facebook medium, putting out, putting the ads in the newspapers, even tapping your community billboard. You'll probably find that in a few weeks we'll be putting the adverts on your community billboard. So it's a variety of methods we get the message out.
And so people will say, I saw the ad or I saw something, and I'm interested in taking classes. Or
Exactly.
Is it difficult when maybe a parent wants their child to come back? Because you get them up to speed, up to standard 6 level, and you also help them to try to get back into the school system if that's what they're aiming to do, right? So what happens if it's a parent and the child is kind of reluctant? Sometimes people leave school because, it's not been very enabling to make them feel encouraged to want to continue. So when they have that mental barrier, how do you get them back on course?
Good question. Good question. And we do have those challenges.
Let me take half of that, then you can take yeah, to be interested and motivated, but they don't have it around. You can only do
mentors,
what exactly. You can only do what you see or what you know, and that is exactly what they're doing. So I feel that a big brother, big sister program that will work. So I personally am trying on that, and I will try, Mr. Yeah, but he is okay with that. He's on. We have spoken about it from last year, but because of COVID, I think it kind of went on the back bench. So now we can revive that back. Yes, and then we have other little things that we do. Just like other school trips, we do cooking, we do different things at school.
Yeah, the reality is that the past 2 years and COVID has really cramped a lot of our efforts at these things. We've seen that since we've been given the green light for opening, there are students on our list that have not come back from last August, even though we make calls to them or their parents.
Visit their homes.
Visit their homes even.
We do whatever we need to do.
So I put part of that, the blame part of it down to COVID. And the students probably just lost interest for whatever reasons. That is my guess on it. But COVID played a part, has played a part.
We just try to make it more interesting for them at school, because it's not what they're getting.
Yeah, because if they've dropped out of the system, the last thing they want is, I imagine, is kind of going back to an environment where
strenuous and tiring.
And then the methods we were using to keep them in touch, the online learning, the packages. They take those packages home and we don't know what they do.
When they was excited when they got their tablets and stuff during the
So how do you sustain the school if you try to keep it as affordable as possible? Because the idea is you can get somebody back on track and go back to school, or at least give them the reading and writing skills necessary to survive in this world. How do you sustain the school?
Well, that's why we're here, to spread the word that we are available. And like I said, we make our tuition rates affordable.
Then donations.
And we get donations from the parent company, Friends United meeting out of the United States. They provide donations to us. And we're also open to donations from any local business agency or corporate agency willing to support us. We never turn down donations. And we've had generous individuals who have just said, okay, I'll give you this sum of money to fund the student's education. So that happens. And because of what the school stands for, we get quite a few donations.
So that helps. So a student who a young person who may want to go back but not quite sure they can afford, it's $30?
Okay, registration and tuition are $30 right up front, and the monthly tuition is $30 a month. For a total school year, you could get by, that adds up to about about $300 for a complete school year.
So if I'm not sure I can cover all of it, and I maybe think that's a barrier, I can come to you and say, can I seek a scholarship from one of these donors to go back? Is that possible?
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. In fact, this is why we're here, to say that we are available for any philanthropic agency or person who wants to help us with a scholarship or scholarships. We welcome that.
And students who are in need and feel that they can't afford it, come and speak to us, and then we can figure something out, make arrangements and stuff like that.
What's the difference that you see in your students when they start to learn and understand the material?
I think for the most part, some of them get a little bit, I'm not using the proper word, cocky. But it's a good feeling when you finally know something. Yes, and I can imagine that's the reason why they are like that. And they're like, I know this thing now, I know this thing now. And I always tell my students, you have always known this because you learned it before, but you just put it back there, so you know you need to bring it back in the front.
Build their self-esteem.
Yes.
And then a tactic I often use, the students who have developed that self-esteem, I use them as role models for the other students who may be not that confident. And it sometimes it feeds off, it plays off on the other students, because you do have the leaders and the followers.
They work very well together.
Yeah, they start, the leaders lead the way and the followers follow. That good example.
How many children have you helped go back to high school? Do they do that sometimes?
Okay, I don't have figures in terms of how many students we've helped to go on to high school, but I know quite a few of our graduates are now current students of, say, Wesley College, or graduates of Wesley College. Gwenlays is another.
The evening schools, yeah?
The day ones.
The day ones
as well.
And we help with some tuition too for our graduates when they go to high schoal.
The top graduates in any school year is granted a scholarship. The last graduating class, there was one student who did so well, but his parents came to us.
Couldn't afford it.
Can't make it. We gave that student a scholarship, and he's doing quite well at Nazarene High School. I must point out also, he was one of our few students who did exceptionally well on the online program when we had it. He was so good that when his parent asked us, can he stay at home and continue his classes, we had no hesitation in saying, stay at home and do your work, because he was very adaptable to the online platform. The other students had a variety of challenges, but this student, he did so well that he finished his third term doing all his online studies at home, and he's now.
And had he not gone back to Belize Friends School, he would have been a primary school dropout.
Quite likely. Yeah.
I do believe so.
All right. So, of course, you're here to tell people that there are slots available, and this is the time to sign up for the upcoming school year,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
How many spaces do you have available?
We are trying to reach a target population of about 25 students for this school year, and into the next school year, if we could bump that population up to between 30 and 45 students, we would love that.
We will not be turning anyone away. If we need another teacher, we'll just get that. Come.
And there is a school. It's located at the end of the boulevard, almost near Caesar Ridge Road.
Correct.
Directly across from the port.
That's right. And you do incredible work there, and we're happy to have you. How do people register or find out more information?
Okay, the contact details are I think we have our email address and phone number. I think I gave that to you guys. But we also have a Facebook page, Belize Friends School. You go there. There's a link where you could do your application online. So if you can access that on our Facebook page, you could do it there, or you could come to the school and talk to Miss Maggie during working hours.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, those are the methods. Yeah.
All right.
And we have some.
Yes, just let me share the email. It's friendsboyschool@btl.net, and the phone number 227-0449. That's Belize Friends School, right?
All right. Thank you so much for coming in and telling us about the great work that you've been doing. And best of luck with the upcoming school year.
Thank you for having us here.
All right. And with that, we're going to take a break.
And when we come back, we'll be talking about some trending social media topics, and then we'll have our wrap up. So please stay tuned.
usuario de eCash, la aplicación eCash está disponible en español. Cambiar el idioma de tu aplicación de eCash de inglés a español es rápido y sencillo. Déjame mostrarte cómo se hace. Primero, abre tu aplicación eCash. Introduce tu PIN. Toca el icono More en la parte inferior de tu pantalla. Selecciona Security. Selecciona Language. Y luego selecciona Spanish. Vuelve a introducir tu PIN y ya está. Tu aplicación de eCash está ahora en español y puedes seguir disfrutando de tu cartera digital eCash. La aplicación eCash de Belize Bank te hace la vida más fácil.
Messi! Off goal! What a goal from Leo Messi! What an incredible strike from Leo Messi! Neymar and Messi is standing over this. Messi! Off goal! What a goal from Leo
Great entertainment
Messi!
stays with you, and we bring you great entertainment. Next Gen, the ultimate digital experience.
I'm always on the go, and the country is my home. So when I want to get away from it all, I immerse myself with my favorite movies, all from the new Smart Stream app. It's easy to use this service. Purchase your movies from the app and use your mobile data, Smart Stream data packages, or smart broadband to stream and enjoy. Be like me and stream on the go with Smart Stream.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5 Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
Wow. Oh my god, she drunk. No hurry, I got this. Goodness. Oh my gosh, it's the artist.
Being the hardest. The artist. But you had way more than 2 drinks tonight, love, which is a legal limit to drive. What about you? Can you drive?
Well, I was drinking soft drink all night, so I can drive her home. Thanks, Bree. Of course, Tricia. You know I got you. You're my girl.
That's what I like to see. Friends don't let friends drive drunk. Cause you can't replay in a real life. Stig says so. we play in a real life.
And we're back. And if you're joining us right now, we are going to be talking about some trending talks because it is Tuesday. That means it's Trending Talks Tuesday. And that's where I give you a little rundown of some of the trending social media topics which people have been talking about over the past week. And the first topic is that this weekend we saw a lot of new music releases. That has been trending all over social media, and there have been a lot of new releases by certain artists. And as you can see on the screen, Bad Bunny released a new album, Un Verano Sin Ti. It has been getting lots of buzz. The reggaeton star has been, building anticipation for a long time, and the album finally came out last weekend. We also saw the album of Jack Harlow, which finally came out. That's been getting some mixed reviews, but definitely a lot of social media buzz as Jack Harlow has been getting over the past year or 2 years. So we also saw yesterday the release of a new music video from Kendrick Lamar, The Heart Part 5, and that one generated a whole lot of buzz because of the images. The entire video is his video changing faces to very famous black men, so it appears that he's rapping the lyrics of the songs from the different perspective of these gentlemen. So of course it was a lot of powerful imagery. So the video started making the rounds yesterday, and of course it generated lots of buzz. And we're expecting a lot of more in the music world, but because we got so much new music this weekend, that is the first thing that I wanted to mention very briefly. So of course, if you haven't heard any of it yet, and these are some of your favorite artists, now is the time because they've got lots of new music. Now, the next big topic which people have been talking about all through the week, I should say, is that last week Monday, while we were having a holiday for Labor Day, it was in New York fashion's biggest night, and that was the Met Gala. Of course, it happens every May, and it is the Costume Institute for the Metropolitan Museum of Art which hosts the party. And of course, it is a huge night for fashion. This year's theme was Gilded Age Glamour, and there weren't many looks which referenced the exact Gilded Age time period, but of course, all of the big fashion looks always generate a lot of buzz. Probably the most talked about look from last week was the image which you're seeing right now. That's Blake Lively wearing a Versace dress. And of course, it is supposed to be referencing the New York architecture and the Statue of Liberty. And of course, it had this big dramatic change on the carpet when it changed color from the original sort of bronze copper kind of color to the green color. And of course, that is another reference to the Statue of Liberty, which was originally brown, but over the years, due to the oxidization and the seaside, it actually turned green. So that was a really interesting one. So there were a lot of other looks, and there we have Bad Bunny, who is in Burberry, which was kind of a humorous take. He seems to be wearing sort of referencing female clothes from that time period. But it was a pretty funny one, and so he probably had the most, his look for the males generated the most buzz. We've got some of the Kardashian sisters there, or well, Kylie Jenner. Kim Kardashian, of course, made a lot of headlines for her dress because she actually wore a dress which was famously worn by Marilyn Monroe when she famously sang that Happy Birthday, Mr. President. So Kim Kardashian actually wore Marilyn Monroe's actual dress on the red carpet and then changed into a replica. And then we also have Lizzo, who you just saw, and she also made was for her look. But of course, there were tons of celebrities, tons of fashion, and of course, it was great to see all of the creativity, all of the looks on display. We didn't see Rihanna, we didn't see Zendaya, some of the people who usually make a lot of headlines, but of course this year's one was also great, and I think Blake Lively probably took the crown for that night because she's getting the most buzz. Now, another thing which made a lot of headlines was Dave Chappelle, the comedian, was performing in Los Angeles last week at the Hollywood Bowl when, right in the middle of his set, some angry, well, I don't know if you want to call him a protester or what, stormed the stage, actually tackled Dave. And then, as you can see right now, there's the video from TMZ. It also made its way to TikTok. And then, of course, his security team then found the assailant and definitely had their way with him. There was a lot of memes, and I think we just saw one on the screen about how he was left after. There are pictures, if you go look this up on Twitter or any other social media. It's pretty brutal how he looked after that. And of course, one of the other things which made news about that incident is that right after Dave Chappelle was tackled by this guy, Chris Rock came out and said, "Hey, was that Will Smith?" So it was a full circle moment. Of course, we don't want to see this becoming a trend where comedians are going to be getting physically assaulted, but that did happen. It made a lot of headlines, but luckily Dave was okay. Everybody seemed to be able to laugh it off. And there was news that the person who did rush the stage wasn't going to be facing any federal felony charges, but we'll see if there's anything else which comes from that. And our final trending talk is a video that went viral just yesterday right here on Belize Facebook. And as you can see, it's a video of somebody approaching the flag monument roundabout right in the center, and somebody was clearly driving up stop, and I don't know if they're reversing just because they got caught or whether they didn't. Maybe they took a wrong turn and they didn't realize, but it went viral on Facebook, and it generated thousands of views in the first instance. And as you can see here, it also made its way over to Instagram, and you could see TikTok, Twitter, and I hope nothing happened, but I wonder what was going through that guy's head, because I did see it yesterday as it initially came out, and it's only been getting more views since then. But those were just the trending topics for this week. So that's what people were talking about, both in Belize and abroad.
So your first thought was that they took a wrong turn.
Well, I don't know. The thing is, I was trying to figure out what was going through his head, but
I thought, you know, something stopped working with his car and reverse is the only option, so he's trying to get to the mechanic or something.
True, could have been like that.
It's all possible, but yeah, that was really interesting. Or somebody just said, you know, watch me blow up on Facebook by doing this thing.
Yeah, every now and again we get a video like that.
Somebody knows the backstory there. By all means, share it with the rest of us, because we're all curious to know why.
I know, right?
Yeah. All right, well, Gavin, thank you for that with Trending Talks for today, and thank you to all our guests who came in.
Yep. We had a great show. We want to say thanks to the nurses who came in, Nurse Bowman and Nurse Valdez, as we celebrate Nurses Week. We also started off our show with a conversation with representatives from the Labor Department, and of course, our final segment was with Belize Friends School. So we want to say thank you to everybody who came into our studio this morning.
That's right. And remember to tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes.
Start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your heart open.
We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day, Belize.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.